Hi, it's Chris,
And Valerie.
and welcome to our fourth episode of our little podcast, Haunt Couture, where we talk mostly about horror media costuming. But today we decided to switch it up from our long awaited hiatus and discuss something that everybody and their mother has been talking about or watching on their screens.
If you haven't guessed it, we're talking about Heated Rivalry today, a show which just premiered at the end of 2025. Very much needed after a very dreary year. Single-handedly saved 2025 for me. So yeah, we're changing gears a little bit. We're talking about gay hockey players.
Just a regular Tuesday for us. But as we're
True.
recording, it has been reported that about 600 million minutes have been spent watching this series, and we knew we had to talk about it. And yeah, we're just obsessed with it, probably as much as you guys are. So we're going to talk about the costuming behind some of your fave gay hockey players and their friends from the show created by Jacob Tierney.
So Chris, how did you get to the cottage?
Early December. Very early December. Because I love hockey and it came up on my recommended on HBO Max. And as soon as I saw it was about gay romance, I was like, yeah, I'm into this. And I was talking about it with a friend at her birthday party, and everybody was just like so confused as to like what we're talking about. But now they're fans, so I think we did our due diligence.
What were your thoughts throughout?
I was like, how come I've never heard of this before? Because it's such like it's niche, but it's like a good type of niche where it's like, oh, it feels really inclusive and it's fun and it's so relatable in so many ways. And I'm sure as a fellow Midwesterner, you're probably like, yeah, like we're pretty familiar with like the toxic masculinity within our sports. So that was a
Yes.
very, very like touchy subject. I know a lot of people were probably like iffy about going in, but I was really excited to
Mhm.
see the conversation surrounding that topic. How about you? How'd you get to the
Yeah.
cottage?
It was a long flight from the Midwest to Canada, but, we were there outside with binoculars, as everyone else was. Parking was a nightmare, but we made it? Um, and yeah, I remember, like, a couple years ago, I don't remember when this book was published, but I remember, like, being at my local Barnes& and Noble, and I saw the cover, and I saw the title, and I'm like, hockey players, not really my thing, so I didn't really give it too much time. Um, and then I came across a TikTok edit, like, the day it premiered because people were already talking about it, and I was like, "You know what? I need something to watch. Let's do it." And immediately hooked, like, 5 minutes in.
I mean, just it makes straight romance look so dull. And I love that about the show. It has so
You
much
know
depth, so much heart. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's crazy because I was so excited for, People We Meet on Vacation, which just premiered yesterday, and like, Tom Blythe and Emily Bader, they have great chemistry, like, it was a good film. I know a lot of people, especially, like, book readers, weren't too happy with some things, but that's,
me.
everybody like, there's always a risk, right, with book adaptations. I haven't read the book, so I'm not too comfortable giving my opinion on some things, but, I was watching it and I was just like, "Oh my god, these 2 men ruined, like, romance for me in the best way possible." Because I was just like, "I need more. I need more from these people."
I know. And like, I watched it last night and I was like, yeah, no, this is not it for me. Like, I read the
Yeah.
book too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, there's just a lot of complaints which are very valid in my opinion, and it makes me kind of nervous for her other adaptations coming up, like Beach Read, which is such a really like not tragic, but it's a very emotional driven
Mhm.
type of book. um but yeah, no, these men ruined it. The intimacy, the emotional intimacy really sold everything in my humble opinion, and I think that's what Hudson Williams and Connor Story really do pull off so effortlessly, like that intimacy, the physical intimacy, but that understanding, I feel like that understanding is more intimate than like sexual like
Mhm.
intimacy, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's something a lot of people I think miss with this show. Like they don't understand like the different levels of not just romance, but platonic romance too. We see with their
Mhm.
friends and stuff. So I like how they included that in the show.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, a lot lost, I feel like, with some people's reactions to the show, because it's very easy, to get sidetracked with, like, the physical
Mhm.
aspects of it and the sexual nature of it, but, yeah, it's like you said, their performances, they're not afraid to go to these places that these characters need to go to, especially as they progress throughout the season and they get closer and closer to each other. So, yeah, it was really nice to see that, and they're just incredible actors. And by the way, there's a rumor that Hudson, who plays Shane Hollander, um, that he's being considered for an Emily Henry adaptation
I
for
saw
Happy
that.
Place.
Yes.
I was like, "Oh my god." So if it is true, I expect great things from him.
Literally, she's collecting these men like the Avengers, and I love that. I love that for
Exactly.
her. Like,
Exactly.
as
Mhm.
soon as like I saw her follow Tom Blythe like last summer, I was like, oh, she's
Yeah.
cooking. She's
It's
cooking, and
yep.
like I cannot wait to see who she casts as Gus Everett. As I think his name is Win from Happy Place. Like,
I think so, yeah. I think I've heard
yeah,
that. Yeah. I really need to get into her books, but, yeah. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for both of them. They've been everywhere. Literally, they have Hollywood crazy. Everybody wants to talk to them, and they were just at the pre-Golden Globes party, I think, last night.
yeah. Elizabeth Banks like pitched to him, like with her producer next to her. Like it's insane. Like they're just walking
Yes.
up to these guys, just being like, "Hey, can you be in my movie?" It's insane to think that like a few months ago, Hudson was at the spaghetti factory getting terrible
Yeah.
reviews, and now everybody and their mother wants a piece of them, like Jimmy Fallon
Exactly.
included. He was a victim to Hudson's charming behavior on the Tonight Show not too long ago. So
It
humbling
was
to see.
so crazy to see Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper talking about them on New Year's Eve during the countdown, and even, Stephen Colbert talking about it too.
Yeah,
I was like, it's crazy. I mean, the level of stardom that we're seeing with these guys is insane. I mean, even just seeing the footage of Hudson walking into his hotel or either his hotel or the Jimmy Fallon show, looking like a rock star, and just this crowd of people just waiting to see him, it's insane. And I think even, like, the security guards, somebody was saying that they hadn't seen that level of stardom since, like, Harry Styles in 2017.
they look like rock stars. It's insane. Now they're getting candid pictures everywhere. Like they've really made it, and I couldn't be prouder for our Shaylas. They're just phenomenal actors, and do not be weird with them either. We've seen some weird
Yes.
interviewers just asking some invasive questions. Okay, everybody, like especially with like queer media,
Yes.
everybody thinks everything's so sexualized, and they treat
Yeah.
us like zoo animals, kind of like just
Mhm.
so weird. And just don't do that. If you're gonna interview people, just don't do that. If you're not gonna ask someone random on the street the question you're thinking of, do not ask that question to this actor. You know what I mean?
Right, I know, like, I'm sure some interviewers think that it makes it, like, kind of break the ice in a way, but it's the complete opposite.
Hmm.
So,
Yep.
just ask the questions about their craft. If they bring up a certain sexual reference, innuendo, whatever, then yeah, follow their lead, but don't be that one. Don't be that person that completely just misses the mark and can't read the room, and even fans, respect their privacy. There's already been crazy amount of, private of their private lives that have leaked. Granted, we don't know if it's true or not, but just don't be weird. Let them have their moment.
Honestly, especially with Hudson, have you seen that he deleted his letterbox account because someone found it? Dude, if you thought his was bad, do not look at mine because we're both haters, like explicit haters. Like his looks like child's play versus my reviews. But like just seeing him and Iowa Debris have to delete their letterbox just makes me so sad. Like let them live, have some fun. Like he
They're
was just
allowed to have opinions. Like, what?
right. he was just being a film bro. Like, let him do his
Exactly.
thing. This is the dude
Exactly.
that like wrote and produced and like directed 80 little like indie films, okay? Like he's gonna be a little pretentious, obviously, as he should, because he's a great, master of his craft. So it's like, let him do his thing. And I just hate that like celebrities have to like, I guess, sacrifice that part of themselves when they reach that status, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I think you and I were talking about just even just, like, some of the other side characters whose people have come out of, like, the woodwork to talk about, like, their specific, experience with them, and not to, like, say, "Oh, that's not valid." It is, but it's just, like, I don't know, it's just crazy. It's just
Right.
craziness to me, but I guess that's the price of fame, but I'm happy for our boys. I'm hoping we'll see them in a Calvin Klein campaign. Some
Allegedly.
other fashion houses are fighting for them, I think. We've been hearing a lot of fashion houses have been following them. Donatella Versace is eyeing them. Um, hopefully Met Gala 2026.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly.
I've seen Marc Jacobs, Tom Brown, Dior, Chanel.
Mhm.
I think that's about it. And maybe Versace, but like you already said, Donatella. They've been following these kids like night after night, like just trying to recruit them so badly. And I just
Yeah.
cannot imagine how intense this might be for them to like know, like, oh, I'm wearing like thousands of dollars worth of clothes when like a few months ago I couldn't even afford it, you know? So good for
Mhm.
them, honestly. I hope their stylist does them justice if they are invited to the Met Gala, which allegedly they have been. But if they are, we might talk about it in the future. I'm really excited to see how their fashion evolution goes the next few months.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for them to see them, at the Golden Globes tomorrow. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Oh my god, did you see, somebody was making a joke because I guess Hudson got to the pre-Golden Globe party late, and him and Connor left early, so somebody was like, "Oh, Hudson just went to pick up Connor," and they left. Took took a few pictures and was like, "We're out."
I saw the pictures too of them leaving by the side door, and I was like, I'm not even like gonna question it. That's very much on par with their character. Like, yeah, yeah,
Exactly, yeah. Alright, well, if you're ready, let's dive into some of these, looks that we have. Um So I don't know if we mentioned at the beginning, but the show was directed by Jacob Tierney. Um, he directed, wrote, I'm not sure if he produced, but he's had like a heavy hand on everything about the show. Um, and it's brilliant. And then we also have like costume designer Hannah Pulley, who worked on the AMC Amazon Prime show Overcompensating, which if you haven't seen, go watch as well because that's hilarious. I know some people have been wanting Connor to join the cast for the next season. I think that'd be funny. Um, but we also have some other actors that are part of this great ensemble, like Francois Arnaud, Kip Grady, or Robbie GK, who plays Kip Grady, and Francois, who plays Scott Hunter. We've also been seeing them out and about as well recently. But yeah, the show is based on the novel series by Rachel Reed, which there are now 7 books, with the 7th one being announced
today.
today, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think
about our
Rachel
boy.
has yet to confirm, but yeah, Barnes& and Noble may have been ahead of the game with that.
And it's going to be about our boys, and ironically enough, about how hockey podcasters are ruining their lives.
Wow.
So there's that. Cannot wait to read about that because that's low key kind of true. I believe that mic equipment should be tariffed like 600% for
Yes.
straight men. So she did the right thing with that, and it's called Unrivaled, which also incredible. So kudos
Yeah.
for her. And yeah, we've been I don't know, just super giddy about that today too. I said it to Valerie and I was like, "Oh my god, they just announced this like in September 2026 we're going to read about our boys again."
Yeah. 5 days after my birthday. That's a great birthday present. And yeah, I've already been hearing that people have been pre-ordering, which is crazy. So yeah, I need to get on that too.
I hope they bring back like us waiting outside the bookstores again, like with
Oh, that'd
Twilight
be
and
fun.
Harry Potter.
We could have, like, Connor and Hudson at, like, signings.
God, please listen to
Oh
please,
my
if you could hear us, please. But that'd be insane. The security would be insane, like Secret
oh, yeah.
Service type level. Like,
Oh, yeah.
man.
But yeah, going back to the show, it follows Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov, played by Hudson and Connor. And they're basically rival hockey players who are entangled in a decade-long, secret, passionate relationship while also being in a very publicized rivalry because they play for rival teams. Um, but yeah, there's bound to be tension on the ice, which then is perfect tension for the bedroom.
True. True. And if you're a hockey fan, you already know. If you've gone to a game, it's quite intimate. These men are literally like rubbing against, like literally like running against each other on the glass, 200-pound men on knives, essentially, their skates, carrying like 20
Yeah.
pounds worth of equipment. Very intimate. So I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like why they would go this route for this. Uh, but yeah, just seeing their style on and off the ice is so interesting to me, just because, like, this is also one of our excuses as to why we're talking about this now. It's technically a period piece, okay?
Yes.
So it's kind of on brand for us. And it's like early 2000s, well, basically like late 2000s, technically, early
Mhm.
2010s type style. And we see that very, very much with our boys and the side characters.
Yeah, so they meet when they're, like, rookies around 17, 18, I think, in 2008, and we basically follow them for almost a decade, so up to 2017, I think, is where we leave off,
Yeah.
this season. And yeah, we definitely see their style evolve, going from very, like, athleisure for some of them to more, like, fashionable looks, very, like, high-end fashion too. But let's start with our sweet baby angel Shane.
Shane is the plain Jane, but of our
The
little
boring
show,
dresser.
as Ilya likes to say, boring. And his clothes reflect that. He literally says, I think in one of the episodes, like, I just wear athleisure. Okay. Like,
Mhm.
I really don't care about clothes. And we can see that with him. Like, most of the stuff he wears, Hannah says that you could find at a thrift store. And lots of the things that he also wears is very much like athletic, but also 2010s ish, because this was also around the time where, like, I guess casual wear, quote unquote, was more popular around this time, like Adidas. Um, and what were the shoes that you talked about yesterday? It was
Reeboks, which we
yeah,
also see, Shane has, been sponsored by in episode 1. So yeah, he needs to be seen wearing those all the time, and I feel like we were talking about just kind of how much the show is, like, very nostalgic trip because I remember being, like, 10 or 11 around that time and just seeing, like, the Adidas everywhere, and then, yeah, I remember seeing a lot of people wearing Reeboks. So yeah, it was very much on brand for that time.
and Nikes. At one point, we do see
Nikes, yes.
Ilya wear the ugly neon Nikes, as fans like to call it, while Shane wears his Sperry's, which
Yes.
also ick. If you've lived through that like period of time, you already know what we're talking about. And like
Yes.
the Keds and the Toms and everything. Basically, any shoe that could give you blisters, that was the vibe back then.
Leave
and
your
it's nice.
feet sweaty and stinky, yeah.
And it's nice to know that athletes also suffer with us. So
Yeah.
there's that.
So, yeah, around, like, the mid-2010s is when we saw menswear really leaning into, the elevated basics is what we call them now. Um, so, yeah, we see, like, a lot of, the athleisure trend really dominating men's fashion. So, yeah, so seeing Shane in kind of this familiar and understated style, I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is very true to the time."
And then as he gets older and he becomes more successful, we kind of see him wear bigger brands, more noticeable brands, if you will, like Gymshark, more
Mhm.
Adidas, some Nikes ish, but he's still kind of like staying plain with like the white tees and stuff. Same thing with Ilya. Like they both have a really big tank top collection,
Yes.
and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them swap wardrobes next season either, just because their styles are kind of merging at this point in the story. What I understand as someone that has not read the books, but it's really endearing to see.
Yeah, so when we see him wear, like, those higher end brands and more, like, expensive clothing, it's very, similar to what we saw, like, in 2017, which is when male athletes really started just embracing fashion as part of their identity. So, like, what we see now is we see football players or, like, NBA players, like, walking into the stadium or the gym and, like, in, like, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, just anything basically high end. And so we can thank, like, LeBron James and Steph Curry, for doing that back in, like, 2017, who really, like, kickstarted this trend that we see now.
Even like a few days ago, there was like a hockey player that like walked into the stadium with full on drip. People were like, "Oh, we
Yeah.
know what he was watching
Yep.
last night." Like it's so cool to see like men fully embrace that part of themselves. Like even I think it was like a couple of players like painted their nails with like nail polish and stuff. Like seeing
Mhm.
them freely express themselves now and even Hudson even said he like received like DMs from like athletes that said, "Hey, like I'm in the closet, but like your show really gave me closure. It really makes me feel inspired, and I admired that about you guys." So it's really nice to see the trickle down effects with these two young men so far.
Yeah, hopefully this is just, like, another inch forward into deconstructing toxic masculinity, so we needed this show.
You want to talk about the beige suit? I know
Oh my
you want to
gosh.
talk about it.
Listen, I know you have your, like, qualms with it, but I was like, "Okay, he's trying," you know? But it's just, like, really just another example of, like, Shane's tendency to hide behind his clothing. Um, but it was really interesting 'cause, Hannah did an interview with, GQ, and so she talked about really just wanting these characters to feel real. Um, so while it may seem, like, a little understated or just, like, boring, um, I thought it was neat that she was saying this wasn't me trying to show off my costume design ability. This was me really trying to ground these characters in reality and making people relate to them. So yeah, I really thought about that Luca controversial clip again. Just another instance where costume design is important.
And it's not about the construction of it either or showing off bodies, okay? Like
Exactly.
there's just so much more depth to it. And I really think Hannah pulled that off quite
Yeah.
effortlessly, like showing how these young men are really like confused in their clothing. It's really cool to see. Even like not even just their clothing evolving, but like the way that they carry themselves while wearing specific pieces of clothing also evolved.
Mhm.
Like from the locker room to them meeting with Shane's parents, for example, seeing them kind of like be vulnerable for the first time and not having so many walls built up because the jerseys also serve as a costume for them technically. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like a sign of camaraderie, but like also it's kind of them watering themselves down and trying to conform to patriarchal values and that look, scared that people are gonna see right through them and their affair.
Yeah, so I thought that despite, him trying to get out of his comfort zone when it comes to fashion, he's still pretty much hiding. So I thought that was really neat that, Hannah pointed out in regards to this beige suit, which looks like it could be him evolving, but there's still that part of him that feels like he needs to hide.
And I also really love how like Shane's clothes are so like mama's boy coded kind of. Like
Yes.
you would think like his mom bought him his clothes and he's just wearing them so he doesn't like disappoint her. I really love that so much about him. But the stuff that he does buy for himself, that's like luxury, quote unquote, like the Ray-Bans, for example, which is also a staple for early 2010s fashion, is
Yes.
also kind of like classics. It's like something that you put in your cart and just buy and not really think about it, versus with Ilya, his choices are more strategic, more, I guess, a little bit more complicated and intentional.
Mhm. Right, yeah, like, he definitely just walked into the Ray-Ban store and said, "Oh, these are great."
I've seen these before. Click.
Exactly. I do remember around this time begging my mom for, like, a pair of Ray-Bans, so yeah,
Same.
again, just another, example of staying true to the time.
Or like walking into an Urban Outfitters and like seeing them like, oh my
Yeah,
god. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
I wonder if they've been to an Urban Outfitters or if we're gonna see it in the future because that was really big with Tumblr culture back then.
Hopefully, season 2, we'll see.
Speaking of Ilya, we gotta talk about our little snazzy dresser, our little fave Russian guy.
Yes, which it was incredible when I first saw an interview with Hudson and Connor and I heard an American accent and found out that he's from Texas. I'm like, "Sir, you gaslit me so hard, but I'm not even mad about it."
Literally, I was like, that is a Slavic man. You cannot tell me
Yeah,
otherwise. He is European. And then finding out he's from
everybody
Odessa,
thought.
Texas. Yeah. And I was like,
Everyone.
what?
And it's crazy because he even said, like, "Oh, yeah, I had, like, a week to really wrap my mind around the fact that I have to learn this extremely hard language." And even, like, throughout the season, he was learning it. So I'm like, "These studios need to give their actors more time. Because what do you mean you're gonna tell me I get the job a week before and I have to learn this language?"
Literally 8 days. They told him, you
Yeah,
gotta get your stuff together, man. 8 days, you gotta be
yeah.
Russian. He's like, huh? And then
But
for like,
also, he's, like, crazy because it sounds like I don't know if he fully knows French, but he's like there's a movie called Riley, I think, that he was in, and it came out in, like, 2023, and he just sounds so fluent in that too that I'm like, "Do you speak French?" And then when they were doing, like, the interview for Quinn, he was speaking Spanish without, like, an accent. I'm like, "Dude, who are you?"
someone cooked here because what do you mean you know our lingo? Because even I
Yeah.
was like perplexed. Like, what do you
You
mean?
know a certain term of endearment, so someone cooked there.
Right. And like seeing his dialect kind of like evolve throughout the month that they were shooting,
Yeah.
insane. Like I would even argue he's better than like most Academy Award winners at this point. So our fave Slavic man is very, very fashionable. He has a lot of expensive pieces in his closet, like the Rick
Sure
Owens
does.
pants he's wearing in the tuna melt scene, which
Oh my god.
would have never guessed. And according to Hannah, they said that like they had like a string in the back of these like pants, but
Mhm.
they really like hid it really well in the back. They tucked it in, and she was like, "No, you gotta leave it out." But now it was just tucked in at the very last minute. He also wears a diesel top, which a lot of people have been inquiring about. It's diesel. He wears lots of Adidas. Obviously, I was waiting for that tracksuit, but we didn't get it. We did get the pants though, and the slides. He's also wearing a Y3 Adidas, I believe. I think they're slides, right? I forgot, but it's Yoshi Yamamoto.
Mhm.
So he has a very expensive taste, and seeing his style also become more relaxed around Shane is also very admirable.
Yeah, and it's very cool to see the reaction from people who are Eastern European who have very much confirmed, "Oh, yeah, this is how the men dress over here." And also, again, going back to, like, his ability, like, to speak Russian and to sound Russian, a lot of people who know the language and speak it were like, "Yeah, I believed he was also Russian." So, having that stamp of approval is, like, kudos to Hannah and obviously to Connor too for putting in the work for that.
Oh, so the Yoshi Adidas piece was the tank top. I thought they were the slides. Yeah, he has a very extensive tank top collection, which was also very intentional on their behalf. He also has the really cute Hawaiian shirt that he wears in Florida, very tourist inspired, and like it's kind of like the Harry Styles shirt that he wore, like the eagle print bowling shirt from Gucci's 2016 Resort collection, which again ties back into that like stardom thing we've been talking about back and
Yeah.
forth, like how these guys are just literally the next pop stars. They've reached beyond pop star status at this point. But yeah, the Hawaiian shirt is vintage, so he truly is a fashionista, and I love that for him. His costuming is so it's intentional in like the smallest ways. Like they
Mhm.
really did try to like make his chest and his neck as exposed as possible to show off his Russian Orthodox necklace, which yes, it is a women's necklace by the way. I did research this, and they literally like spent so much time looking for this exact piece because one of the producers is such a big fan of the series, and they found a little Russian Orthodox cross necklace at a vintage store, I think in Montreal, at a mom and pop shop. And it's become a little talisman for Ilya. And it's going to be revealed next season or in the second book, essentially the long game where like his mom was the one that gave him that necklace, hence why it's a lady's necklace. So yeah, if you're wondering why isn't it so long, it's because the chain is like kind of made to be on a lady's collarbones versus a man's.
Yeah, I know you haven't read the books, but I think I texted you like last week we were texting and I was telling you, I'm like, yeah, I read Game Changers, which is Scott and Kip's book, Heated Rivalry, and Long Game within the span of like 3 days. I was just consuming as much as I could in between episodes. But yeah, it's revealed in the second book that it's from his mom, who we found out in episode 6 that was struggling with mental health. And Ilya was the one that found her, so he's a really traumatized guy. And so yeah, seeing this, especially you bringing it up that it's like a talisman for him. It reminded me of Frankenstein with Victor specifically when we really focus on the fact that we see the color red a lot with him, and it's the last thing that he sees his mom wear is a gown that's red. And so we see him in certain points of the film really like just like grasping and like anything like gloves, his red gloves, or like even just like the bed sheets that are red, which is like a comfort to him because that's obviously the thing that reminds him of his mom. So seeing Ilya really hold on to this necklace like it's a lifeline, yeah, it reminded me of that. So yeah, it is a pivotal character piece. And yeah, we're gonna learn a little bit more about that next season. So prepare yourselves.
And during the scenes where he's the most like, I don't want to say confused, but maybe like the most emotionally, I guess, confused ish, just so like in turmoil, is when we really see the necklace like shine in the lights, like in the club scene, which by the way, that shirt is Versace, which is really funny because Donatella just followed them. But yeah, basically, Hannah said that like people have been asking, like, oh, is it intentional that like it glistens underneath the light? And she's like, nah, it's gold, so like of course it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
glisten. But when we see Connor just like playing with it, like that's organic, and maybe it is kind of intentional. Some scenes in different lighting that the necklace kind of shines when Ilya is very much in between different decisions. So there's that.
Yeah. Oh,
Now we gotta talk about my fave duo. Besides our main duo, I love Scott and Kip, and I know
oh
you
my
do
goodness.
too.
Yes. I loved episode 3 so much. I know a lot of people were like, why is this random couple being introduced like halfway through? Which I get it, it would have been nice to kind of have them sprinkled throughout the first 2 episodes. But really by the time we get to episode 5, we know why they're so important, especially to Shane and Ilya's story. So yeah, I really loved that episode. It was nice to see a different type of relationship being portrayed. Just because we obviously know like Shane and Ilya have more of this like not toxic, but like
Childish, kind of.
yeah, almost kind of immature, not in a bad way, but like Scott and Kip are like older, so they're able to engage in a relationship differently than you would like in your early teens, even 20s. Um, and even then, like Kip isn't a hockey player, so it's obviously going to be a very different dynamic than
Right.
Shane and Ilya. But yeah, seeing a different type of older, more mature relationship being portrayed was really beautiful. So yeah, I really love this episode, and I think that was pretty much the consensus from everyone was they're so cute. We want more of them in season 2.
And like I also like kind of forget sometimes that like Shane and Ilya are technically high school sweethearts.
Yeah,
So again, different age gaps. So it's like something for the younger kids, also something for us grown-ups because we're kind of old around here, okay? Like we're both around the same age.
we're
I'm about
getting
to
there.
turn I know I'm about to turn 26 in like a few days and you're already 26. Like
I am, yeah.
so
Oh,
like we kind of
crazy.
got representation here. So I love
Yeah.
seeing that kind of play out. And a lot of their wardrobe is also very like mature for that time frame.
Mhm.
You know, we kind of see Ilya and Shane being more tapped into like the younger, like BuzzFeed type of like aesthetics. And then we see
Yeah.
Scott and Kip, it's more like girls. You know what I mean? From
Mhm.
HBO. Like very much chillax, but also on par with the themes going on around there. They also share lots of clothing, which so
Yes.
romantic, so cutesy. And we see Kip wearing Scott's red hoodie in episode 3. very cutesy. Love that. And with Scott, he's more established versus with Kip,
Mhm.
because Kip is like in the beginning of the episode, he's applying to like grad school, very artsy guy. But with Scott, he knows himself, and his past kind of does define him in a bit, as we find out later on with his parents passing away in the car accident, and they were hockey coaches. So that is also really big motivation for him, and as to why he's so defensive all the time when it comes to his
Mhm.
craft. And seeing Kip's realization, like, oh, that's why you are the way that you are, is very heartbreaking and kind of jarring. And also taking into consideration what they're wearing at the moment is also kind of
Mhm.
like kind of scary.
Yeah, even just comparing, like, Scott to, like, Shane, for example, Shane's very, like, in that awkward stage again of just, like, trying to find himself within the clothing, but still hiding. Whereas, like, again, like you said, Scott, he's more established, like, he knows himself, and through, like, obviously being more older and, more experienced, like, he knows how to mask himself, and unfortunately, he's very comfortable in that mask,
Hmm.
but, yeah, like you said, like, his craft is really important to him, and we find out that it's because, his parents died when he was 12, and they were already within, like, the hockey world, and so really, like, he's really clinging to the sport, and these like, his teammates are his family, so seeing Kip realize that when they're having that conversation in episode 3, it's heartbreaking because he knows this isn't just, like it's not a superficial fear, which, like, I'm not saying that, anybody struggling to come out is like, that fear is superficial, but it's like,
Right.
"Oh, this is really, like, deeply rooted in who he is." So, yeah. It's like I can't really help him. Whereas, like, if it were a different type of fear, like, he knows that he at least has him to hold on to, but this yeah, like, he's been alone for more than half of his life, I wanna say. So yeah. Yeah, it was really heartbreaking.
Even the palettes for their clothing reflects this like stark contrast. Like with Scott, he's more like incognito, like spy versus spy type wear, where it's like black and white, gray. And then with Kip, he's more pastels. Like we see in Strawberry, he's wearing lots of pastel blues, he's wearing peach, he's wearing yellow, which is also kind of funny because later on in the scholarship gala, we see his friend Elena tells Scott, like, oh, he deserves the world, he deserves sunshine. And we see Kip being the sunshine for Scott. It's kind of like every
Mhm.
time Scott looks at him, he's looking at a brighter future. And so
Yeah.
the the stakes are high between those
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, I just remember the scene when Scott comes home from practice and he realizes that Kip is there waiting for him, like, oh, he's just so happy that somebody was there, like, oh, poor Scott.
It must feel so isolating to like live
Yeah.
that type of life.
So, yeah, definitely, yeah, Kip is definitely that lifeline now, which he even says, at the beginning of episode 5 when he's giving a speech. He's like, "Yeah, this has been my life, I share this with my team, but I found somebody who just adds something more to my life than just hockey." So, ah, such a beautiful full circle for them.
Something else they have in common with Shane and Ilya is kind of like the glasses, which
Yes.
again, going back to Jimmy Kimmel, he's pulling out those glasses, and I was like, oh, I know exactly where those are from. Kip is also wearing glasses, same as Shane, they're reading glasses, and he's an artsy guy. He's going to art grad school, so makes a lot of sense. But the process for choosing that pair was like kind of like okay, one and done versus with Shane, they had Hudson try on 10 to 15 different pairs of glasses. Kind of insane. But
Yeah.
with the budget they had, they really had to like be strategic when it came to like statement pieces or more expensive things. So
Mhm.
hopefully next season, if the budget does increase, we're gonna see a lot more brand deals.
Yeah, and it's very cool that, she focused really much on that, like, the art history student, like, looking at, like, what the typical art student wears and basically going, "Okay, like, these glasses give art student." So, yeah.
Literally,
That
I
was
was
funny.
like, it brought me back to college. Like
Yeah.
2018, 2019, like those were the glasses that everybody was so
Mhm.
obsessed with, like the retro type, which again goes back to the style back then where it's like half the people were Tumblr, other halves were
Yeah.
BuzzFeed. And then we had Twee, then we had like 40s, 50s rockabilly, Zoe Deschanel type vibe going on.
Mhm.
So It's very trendy. You might think it's ugly, but we did live through this era.
Yes, we did. And we're seeing some of it come back now, which is crazy. Um, I've been seeing a lot of like 2016 coming back.
Me too.
So I feel like that's gonna be what we see this year, which is crazy. But fashion has its ups and downs, you know?
I'm betting Ray-Bans are gonna come back. I've already
Oh, I'm
seen,
sure of it.
yeah,
I'm sure.
I've seen some influencers already buy some, and I'm like, okay, so we're doing this.
Yes.
Okay. Even like the business casual, like club attire is also
Yeah.
making a comeback.
But speaking of Zoe Deschanel's influence around that time, should we move on to some of our side characters?
Yeah, let's talk about Svetlana, who, by the way, this is not the first time a gay man has tried to marry a Svetlana on TV. If you're
Oh,
a
yes.
Shameless fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The gala
Dmitry
dress that
Milojevic.
literally, I love them. I love
They're
them.
so funny. Oh my gosh, I love that show.
The gala dress that she wears is from Toronto designer Izzy Camilleri, who also helped Hannah with a couple other pieces for projects that she's done. And Shane's girly pop is Rose, and she's wearing a Mew Mew shirt when they first meet. The little Peter Pan collar, very on brand for the time.
Yeah, very 2016. I honestly don't want to see this print come back. I'm not gonna lie. But like I said, fashion ups and downs. It has to, it has to. But yeah, like it's very reflective of that time where it's like it was still a very conservative time, but still a little flirtatious, but not fully like we see nowadays. Very much like, preventing like revealing too much skin. So yeah, with Rose, it was more based on like her emotional and intellectual connection with Shane. So um yeah, it was very nice to see that reflected in that Peter Pan collared shirt.
And then the
But we
nightclub
do kind of
dress.
see I
Oh,
was gonna say, yeah, like we do see that flirtatious side come out with that nightclub dress, which you found out is just one of a kind.
yeah, Hannah makes it a mission of hers to like try to make one piece per project, and this was the piece that she literally sewed for Sophie Elise. Like literally, like while she was wearing it, she was like sewing her back in it. And all I'm gonna say is that it's kind of jarring for me as a Yellow Jackets fan to see Shauna outside of the wilderness. Though we're also gonna see lots more of her in season 2, apparently. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too because I don't think she was that big of a part in the long game. I know Svetlana is, um, even though she has an inkling about Ilya, they have a really nice conversation where she finds out that it's Shane. So I can't wait to see that come to fruition in season 2. But yeah, the nightclub dress, I was like, okay, Paris Hilton, pop off.
Literally, I was like, yeah, she's that girl. Love that.
Yeah.
But who would have thought the most expensive, I guess, wardrobe went to Sasha, who we see for like almost 5 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
His top is from Infant's Riches, and it's the Depreme Silk Roses sheer long sleeve button up. It's designed by Henry Levi, and I found one on sale, and it was sold back in March for $1,300. And Hannah says this might be the most expensive piece that we used. So that says quite a lot, considering that we have Ilya and Rick Owens, Diesel,
Exactly.
and Yoshi Yamamoto.
So congrats to Caden Connors who plays Sasha. He got the most expensive piece. So yeah, hopefully we just see more brands hop on the bandwagon next season so we see our characters in a little bit more elevated fashion. But yeah, it's crazy. $1,300.
My fave part of the show is the jerseys. And if you've been on
Yes.
social media, you already know that the jerseys are quite dirty. And I do not mean that in like the mud type of way, like they're innuendos. So in or on the podcast with What Chaos, Jacob revealed that the logos are sexual innuendos. So both teams, well, we've seen like what 3 teams basically for Scott and for Shane and for Ilya. So they're split by tops and bottoms. And if you do not know, it's like basically doms and subs, but for the gay community. In total, there were about 15 teams, but we only see 13 on the show. 2 of them were scrapped or replaced for the Olympics. One of them was for German, I believe, and they were replaced with Latvia. But yeah, let's just say that if you look very closely at the logos, they're quite explicit.
They are. And I love that he admitted that he wasn't trying to be subtle.
For sure. He was like, no, we really wanted you to see.
He
We
knew what
really
he was
wanted you to
doing.
see. Yeah, and like, I'm gonna have to speed run this. I'm already dreading it, but I'm gonna speed run anyways. So basically, if you're curious, the admirals are tops. um,
Makes
San,
sense with that
San
scene with Scott and Kip.
literally, yeah, all we're gonna say. San Francisco Missions were bottoms, Montreal Metros bottoms, and let's just say the Boston Raiders are tops, and the cannon is not a cannon. Okay, so if you have a jersey, you're welcome. Which, by the way, have been sold out for quite a bit. Insane.
Yeah, leave some for the rest of us, please.
And with designing these logos, shout out to Steven, who is their graphic designer. This was, yeah, designed by a man. They basically were inspired by either something phallic or a butt.
Little booty.
So yeah, the Metro's logo, it's not an M. So I've already seen so many TikToks of people saying that, like, oh, I know what that is. And the jerseys are actual jerseys. They were made by Marchand Sports on Instagram. Shout out to them. Custom in-house Canadian sports apparel brand. If you're very curious, yes, this is a jersey, and yes, you can buy one, but again, it's been sold out. And they might bring the fleece back. The official Canadian Olympic team has put out a statement that their boss said they might make this come to fruition. But as of right now, there's no official fleece on sale. I have seen a small business make their own version of this. I'll tag them and I'll show you guys who they are right here. But yeah, they said that they're trying not to get sued. So far, so good. I don't have any idea how much it costs, but it looks pretty great quality thus far. And yeah, hopefully they don't sell out soon.
Yeah, I was thinking back to like again when like the show first premiered, like a lot of people were already making like the jerseys and like just even just shirts with the characters on them. Which I'm like, that's crazy. You guys work fast.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
Mhm.
Which, please, if you do sell it, tag me because I want some merch so bad without costing an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And Jacob has also said in their drawing room there was supposed to be another team, which we never get to see, called the Houston Drillers. The Houston Drillers. And yes, and he said the logo was of something bursting. So I don't know what he means by that. But I hope we get to see it next season along with the Centaurs, which are going to be a whole other like spectacle next season because now Ilya is being transferred over to Ottawa. So we have a few more teams making their debut next season, and I cannot wait to see the logos for them.
I'm nervous. I'm kind of scared. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, very excited to see Ilya in Canada playing for Ottawa.
Are they playing like the same team next season? Do you know?
So, I mean, if you're okay with spoilers, they do end up playing on the same team by the end of the long game, but I don't know if necessarily they're gonna do that by the end of season 2 or if they're gonna put that off for season 3. Because a lot of people are speculating, oh, this is where they're gonna end season 2 to then lead into season 3. But if we have the 3rd book by then I'm assuming season 3 will be based on that 3rd book alone. But yeah, by the end of the long game, Shane and Ilya are playing for Ottawa. A lot of people want to fight the Metros because they really do screw Shane over at the end. So, yeah. But it's nice that we see them playing for the same team at the end.
I know I've been seeing people say like, oh, if you bought like a what's it called, Raiders or
Metros,
Admiral, yeah, you're gonna regret it. So I'm like, oh, what did they do?
Oh, you're gonna be mad when you read it. Oh my gosh.
Can't wait. If I could get my hands on a copy because they've been
Yeah.
sold out everywhere. Literally everywhere. So let's get into a fan theory, which isn't technically a theory in my opinion, because it does apply to multiple pieces of media centering toxic masculinity within different professions, which is tuxedos or suits in general. There is a theory that the suits themselves are a metaphor for the glass closet. And you'll see this quite often or very prevalent in both of these relationships, whether it be the suit Scott buys for Kip, or whether it be Shane and Ilya's suits that they wear during the award ceremony. There's a lot of symbolism with not just being in the glass closet, but also upholding these patriarchal values. And then again, I feel like this is technically not a theory because, like, whenever you think of like traditional, like, men, quote unquote, like cake toppers have the groom in tuxedos, or
Mhm.
and like all these different award ceremonies, even nowadays, or like red carpets, every guy is wearing a tux.
Yeah.
It's a, you know what I mean? Like, it's just such like a stereotypical suit for a reason.
Right, yeah. My favorite thing about, like, red carpet season is when I see all of these, like, fashion commentators basically saying, any guy that's wearing a suit, like, it's okay."
Literally me last year during the
So
Met, I was like, a tux, great. Like,
right? Like, that's, like, the time to, like, really, like, play with fashion, and you're just wearing, like, this black and, like, black tie suit, like, no.
and like over time, like it's kind of gotten the reputation of being like, oh, it's a symbol of masculinity, like super suave men wear really cool James Bond-esque suits, like
Mhm.
the ultimate like male power, whatever you want to say, like status, the broad shoulders, the really tailored like edges, so crisp and so clean. And it's beautiful to look at, but also kind of haunting to see because like yeah, they're wearing these suits, but they look so restricted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's so important to note that like Scott literally bought this suit and it's hanging in a closet. Like, he's
Yeah.
inviting Kip to play pretend with him and wear this suit to the gala or wherever they're going. Like, he's really saying like, hey, like, I'm not feeling comfortable being with you, but like, I love you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's play pretend together. And like, also, it's not like, you know a coincidence that like Kip is a waiter on the side. He's
Mhm.
wearing a tux. The first time Shane and Ilya hook up, he's wearing a suit. The first time they go over to his parents' place, he's kind of wearing a suit during their lunch. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like playing pretend, saying like, hey, like, I'm not comfortable with this. Like, I'm still trying to hide this part of myself.
Right, yeah, like, it's interesting that you bring up, like, the first episode that or episode 1 where Shane and Ilya, like, first hook up, where, like, Shane's trying on a suit. Like, it's almost him being like, "Okay, like, I feel attracted to this man, but I'm gonna put on the thing that makes me feel manly."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, it's really interesting, but also somebody pointed out, like, Ilya's wearing a version of a tuxedo. It's a Canadian tuxedo, that denim on denim look, which I thought was really interesting, but yeah.
They're both
Obviously,
playing
like, wearing
pretend.
it very differently, but still kind of that same mindset.
It's like this false sense of confidence that they're wearing.
Mhm.
Like, they really are saying like, oh, if I dress to impress, I might impress myself, when that's not the case. Like, they're just suppressing their feelings and their desires. And it reminds me so much of like Mad Men, which a lot of people have been tuning in for the first time lately because it's just been uploaded on HBO Max. But yeah,
Mhm.
there's a character, his name's Sal. He's an Italian gay man. He works at the same marketing firm as Don, and he works in the art department. And there's a scene where him and his, I guess, coworkers are doing their work, and a call girl, not a call girl, oh my god, one of the line ladies comes down, and she's like, flirting with Sal because she thinks like, oh, he's so handsome in these suits and blah blah blah, but like really, she's just flirting with him. And his friend or his coworker says like, oh, why don't these girls flirt with me? And like, if I was paid the same as you, I would be flirting with all the women too. And he's like,
Mm.
you don't need my salary to be flirted with. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what they like about me. And then we see him later on in the same episode. He's meeting with a presumably gay guy. And this guy has a family, he has a wife and kids. Like, he looks impeccable. They both look like they walked out of an ad themselves. And seeing them next to each other, trying to like play pretend or be masculine is so like interesting, but also like kind of creepy at the same time when we find
Mhm.
out that like Sal is gay. So like I don't know, it just shows that like this cycle never does stop. No matter like if it's 1950 or if it's the early 2010s, like these men still use suits as a way to show their dominance or their status amongst their peers.
Yeah, it's also, like, thinking back to, like, the time that this show is based around, like, I mean, if you think about it, like, gay marriage wasn't really, legal until 2014, 2015. So, yeah, just even, like, a decade from then to now, like, it's just crazy how much so much has shifted. Obviously, we still see some regressive ideology, but I feel like there's more pushback, and so, yeah, very interesting that you bring up Mad Men from the 1950s versus, like, the 2010s.
Right, it's like the nuclear family propaganda never stopped. Like trad
Mhm.
wife propaganda is still alive and flourishing online.
Yep.
I don't know if it's just the romantic in me, but like also a suit is kind of like layers, like an
Mhm.
onion. Like you're trying to pull back the layers, and it just shows like there's some physical and emotional barriers between these men, you know, like
Mhm.
they're trying so hard to like please each other, but really like they're doing the exact opposite, putting on so many different fabrics on top of each other.
Yeah, so it's really, like, by the time we reach, like, episode 6 with Shane and Ilya, seeing them kind of be really comfortable with each other, reflective in the clothing. When they go talk to, like, Shane's parents, like, you mentioned Shane wearing something close to a suit, something formal. Aside from that, like, seeing them comfortable with each other and then, like, even sharing clothes, like, we see that a lot throughout the season with Scott and Kip, and then episode 4 when, Shane goes over to Ilya's house in Boston. So just having that, like, sprinkled throughout, and then by the time we get to episode 6, seeing them fully, like, sharing clothing and being, like, in this comfortable space with each other, like, it just shows the growth by the time we reach the end of season 1.
Even like Shane's relationship with women kind of evolved with him wearing
Mhm.
suits. Like the first time
Yeah.
he meets Rose at the bar, he's wearing a blazer, which yes, it is on par back then for like club attire, but like
Yeah.
it shows that he's still playing pretend. Like this is a costume for him. Like he's trying to put
Mhm.
his best foot forward, but really he
Yeah.
looks kind of ridiculous. It's like counterintuitive.
So, yeah, a lot of details that, I think on first watch, I didn't pay attention to when you sent me that Instagram post of somebody saying, "This is really like a period piece, like, we're going back to 2008 and we're seeing the evolution up until 2017," and it would have been so easy for Hannah to be like, "Okay, we're using, like, 2025 apparel," but it just wouldn't have worked, so seeing that, like, evolution again and, like, yeah, it's a lot of details that you may miss on first watch, so, yeah, when you sent me that, I was like, "Oh my god, that's so true," like, we're seeing a lot of those trends from then, and yeah, very, very intentional show, very intentional costume design, so we were like, "Yeah, we have to talk about the show because it's incredible from the costume design, the script, the actors, set design, everything's just beautiful about it."
They had $2 and a dream and they
They
made
really
it
did.
happen.
They really did. They really did, and I hope for season 2, like, I know Jacob's been vocal about it, like, they're not really expecting a bigger budget, which, listen, if it's gonna a bigger budget's gonna compromise what we saw in season 1, I'd rather they stick with those $2 and a dream because
True.
when you get a bigger studio involved, it's just a lot of creative choices that are made that sacrifice the integrity of the story, so kudos to him for doubling down on that, and hopefully that stays true as we see season 2 start filming.
Yeah, and speaking of season 2,
Mm.
what are some of your expectations as a book reader?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. I know we're gonna see Shane and Ilya be a lot more domestic, which I'm very excited about. As far as, like, steamy scenes, I know you've heard about a trophy room.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see that, but there's a really, really beautiful and just magnificent all the things scene between Shane and Ilya after spoiler, Shane proposes to him. They have a really honest and vulnerable conversation where Ilya reveals that he has been diagnosed with, depression like his mom. Um, and so just seeing him take that step, another emotional step forward with Shane, I think is really beautiful, and I know Connor and Hudson are gonna do that scene justice, so I'm very, very excited to see that.
Man, I want to see domestic Shane and Ilya so bad, but
Yeah.
also like I already know the horrors persist. and they never
Yeah.
stop. So kind of dreading that too. Um,
Yeah, it is gonna get heavier. I'm gonna warn you, if you're gonna read the book, it's a very heavier topics, but yeah, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so what are you hoping for season 2?
besides the jerseys, which I'm dying to
Mhm.
see how they're gonna like design the Centaurs logo, if they're gonna be super explicit or not. Like, how could you get even more explicit with a centaur? You know what I mean? I feel like it's already kind of like
Yeah.
out there. I'm kind of like interested in seeing like how Scott and Kip are gonna be prevalent in the season because
Yeah.
I know Rachel has been pushing their presence a little bit more, and fans are kind of like iffy about that because they're like they're not that like big like after the second book, like they're just sprinkled here and there. Like, what else is there to say? Like, I want to know
Mhm.
like where is their story gonna go? Because I know they do end up getting engaged, but like, what's next for them? I know there's some pushback with Scott, coming out from, the
Mhm.
NHL. Like, I want to see how that's going to play out, especially with
Yeah.
like the seventh book. Like, is there going to be parallels between what Shane and Ilya are experiencing from the podcasters versus what Scott with like the mainstream? Because he is kind of like a veteran in like the hockey world. So I wonder if they're going to like join forces like the Avengers and like conquer homophobia or something. Like, I don't know, like figure out a plan to like make it more inclusive.
Yeah, I do wanna see more of Scott and Kip. I kinda wish that they had, like, their own show just because I wanted to see more specifically of them, not just sprinkled throughout season 2. But, yeah, they are married by the 2nd book, and it's interesting that you bring up Avengers because he does reach out to Shane and Ilya close to the end of the book, and he does basically say, "Hey, I'm putting basically together this group of people where we can create this safe space for other like LGBTQ plus players." So it is kind of what you're talking about. So yeah, I hope we do get that in book 3, which I think is what um is part of the premise for the 3rd book. But yeah, I do want to see that by the end of season 2.
If you could own one piece from this production, a clothing piece, what would it be?
I want to say the one of a kind nightclub dress.
Good choice.
It's stunning.
Mine
What
is
about
kind
you?
of mine is kind of basic. Like, I love the Montreal Metro's hoodie that Shane wears before his injury.
Mm,
It's again basic, but I really like it. It's really sleek, very simple. I haven't seen much conversation about that either, but
mhm.
Hannah, if you're listening, please send me one because it just looks so
Yes.
cozy, so fun.
Yeah. So much excitement for season 2. What was your favorite scene? Favorite episode?
Ooh, I really love besides the cottage, okay, that whole episode, but like I love the scene where Shane calls Ilya. Ilya's like in Russia and he's telling him like in Russian, like, I love you. And then like we see, towards the cottage scene, like, oh, he meant it very different ways. Like in Russia,
Mhm.
he meant it like in like, oh, I love you, like an action, versus like with Shane in the cottage, he's like, no, I love you. Like specifically
Mhm.
you. So that difference really did like make me feel so really warm on the inside. Like he really does love that kid. Like he really,
Yeah.
really does. His weird, quirky little guy. What about you? What was your favorite scene?
I mean, yeah, it has to be that when he's doing the monologue. I think that's everybody's favorite scene just because I really loved how he ended that whole monologue with saying, "I'm so in love with you that I don't know what to do about it." Like, he's
Yeah.
trying so hard
Yeah.
to understand this feeling and, like, why this one like, even in, like, the book and, like, both books, he's like, why do I love this man? Like, why did it have to be this man? And, like, seeing him say that at the end, it's like just the desperation of, like, wanting to understand the depth of his feelings for this person. It really was shown through that one sentence. I did love the cottage. I love how really pretty much episode 6 was a parallel to all these different moments throughout the season between the 2. I did love when they were talking to Shane's parents. It was oh my god, no, we have to talk about Yuna and Shane
Oh
in
man.
episode 6. Oh my god, the way that, Hudson said, "I tried really hard, and I just, like, I can't help it." I cried so hard when I saw that scene because it's just another example of, like, anybody that's part of the community having to feel like they have to try to be something that they're not, and just the way that Hudson delivered that just Oh my god, it was heartbreaking, and I can't even imagine the people that had to go through that, and just how he felt like he had to apologize, like, "I really tried, but I can't help it."
Mhm.
And it was beautiful to see. I know in most, like, queer media, we see, like, the parents react really badly, so it was nice to see a positive reaction from his mom and even, like, and his dad too. Yeah, he was like, "I gotta go." And I have to say I appreciated the fact that he didn't tell Yuna, 'cause he was
Yeah,
like, "I don't think it's my place to tell her." Because even when, like, they showed up to their house, she was like, "Find
what?
out what? Like, what happened?" So, yeah, seeing a positive reaction, I think, is also needed in queer media because we normally see, like, the tragedy of these stories where somebody's sick, somebody dies, like, it's
Right.
so it was very, refreshing to see a beautiful story with a positive reaction from parents and seeing just 2 people be in love, like, "Oh, this isn't gonna end in tragedy," you know?
Yeah, like, I was thinking about that too the other day, like, this really is the only happy queer media I have consumed in a long time, like, again, it's always like someone dies or, like, they can't be together for some stupid reason, like, it's so
Yeah.
illogical, you know? But it's nice seeing this representation of, like, no, like, things can work out. Even though
Mhm.
everything is against you, it can work out. Even like not to like bring costuming back into this, but like I was reading one of Hannah's like Instagram posts and she said
Mhm.
like in that scene where they're outside, Shane and Yuna are wearing very delicate fabrics to
Mhm.
show how vulnerable they are with each other. Like it's very like humble, very grounded. I really did feel like she did a really good job doing, I guess, like scoping out intuitively, like the fabrics, the materials, and how they portray these emotions so deep.
Yeah, so it's a really beautiful show, and I know a lot of people get, like, caught up in, like, the sexual nature of it, which is it's fine, like, I appreciate the show for that reason because there are movies and shows that, like, have a sex scene just for the sake of having one,
Mhm.
and so you don't really feel, like, the intimacy part of it, like, some of these scenes, when I was watching them, I was like, "My gosh, like, I should not be watching these 2 people, like, this is very intimate." I'm like, "I'm sorry, kings, I'm, like, bothering you." But, yeah, like, okay, like, focus on that, sure, but it's a really beautiful story and beautiful storytelling, and there's just a deeper layer of emotion behind it, so, yeah, like, have fun with the sexual aspect of it, but there's a really beautiful story underneath that.
Yeah, for sure. Again, like the difference between like I want to say like I don't know, like Emily Henry versus Rachel Reed is
Mhm.
insane. And the big question that has been kind of haunting the timeline the past couple weeks is why are straight women so drawn to this? And
Yeah.
you explained it perfectly well. Like it's because like it gives us this feeling of hope and like it gives us a safe environment to like really like live vicariously through these people, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it shows us that we shouldn't be ashamed of our sexuality or of our desires. And if these guys can beat the odds, then there's some hope for us. And in a in a time where like dating is like awful, let's be real here, okay? Like
No, yeah, it's rough out here, and I gotta say, like, this show, I was like, "What do you mean I want a man?" What do you mean? Like, in this economy, in this environment? What? It's crazy. I saw somebody was like, "I think I prefer the tragedy." 'Cause what do you mean I want love? And honestly, I was like, "Yeah, same." But yeah, and just, even just knowing that a man can be emotionally vulnerable, I think is what we want too. So, yeah, it's been a really interesting conversation that's been going on regarding why, like, straight women are so tuned in.
right. And like why everyone's so obsessed because it's not just like straight women, gay women, it's
Mhm.
like everybody that's kind of infatuated with the dynamics with themes being so prevalent in the show. Like
Mhm.
it really does inspire us so deeply and like it's so sweet and it kind of gives like early 2000s rom-com without the
Mhm.
raunchiness and without
Yeah.
the like the outdated language, like it
Mhm.
elevates it to another level that's so digestible now,
Yeah.
so it's much needed in the rom-com world in like romance. And Jacob taking romance so seriously too is also an incredibly pivotal reason why it's so successful. Like that's what lacks so much in like romance media nowadays. Like people treating it like, oh, it's just, whatever. Like no, it should be taken seriously. Like yearning is an art form, a long forgotten art form, but it's really like important in erotica and sexuality discussions.
Yeah, so I think, this show is really important for that reason. It's very much a cultural moment that we're living in. And moving forward, I hope that other shows focusing on like the LGBTQ plus community or even just romance in general, they look at this show and they say, okay, this is what they did right with these characters, with the script, with the story. Just, yeah. So hopefully we get more stuff like this because it's very much desired by a very big audience.
And men, if you are listening for God knows what reason, go to therapy. If you take anything from this podcast, go to therapy. That is very attractive, and do the inner work, not just sit there and complain to your psychiatrist or to the psychologist. Just sit there and reflect, and like really ponder why this show is so successful and why everybody's obsessed with it.
And with that, I think we'll sign off. So, yep, be sure to tune in next week where we will finally be talking about Count Orlok after literally 5 weeks of trying to film this episode. So stay tuned for that.
We'll be talking about weird vampires yet again. That is our brand. We love a good. We just love the strange and the mysterious, and you guys do too. So also, hello to everybody that's new here. There's been an influx of new followers and listeners the last few weeks since we've been radio silent, but hello, you're welcome here. And yes, we do talk about hockey yaoi, but we also talk about vampire media, horror media. And we'll be back to that regularly scheduled program like next week and moving forward towards award season. So stay tuned for that and our thoughts on Oscar contenders, because that's going to be a really interesting conversation we're going to have soon.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.